Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico. Just having a little bit of a laugh off air here with the guys before we went live. It looks like they're getting ready to throw me under the bus here tonight, so we'll see what happens. Welcome to another evening of Golf Talk Live, and of course, this is our second edition of Coach's Corner. We had our first edition started last week, March the 6th, and had some great guys on the panel, and tonight we've got another great group, and I'm going to bring them up here in just a quick second, but I just want to remind everybody that we are live on air right now at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time here on blogtalkradio.com, and you just go up in the search key and type in Golf Talk Live, and it'll bring you right to the link. Or you can just add it on after blogtalk.com/Golf Talk Live, and that'll bring you there as well. If you want to speak to the guests tonight live and ask them some questions on the panel, you can call into the program at area code 646-716-4667, or you can also email some questions throughout the evening at questions.golftalklive@gmail.com. And if you want to come on the show, you can email me personally at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/golftalkliveblog. And you can also follow me on Twitter at TedandBuckCEO. That's TedandBuckCEO on Twitter if you want to follow me there. And don't forget to check out the website, golftalkliveblog.com. You'll get some information about all of the guests that come on the program here, whether they've written books or just out in the teaching world. But my guest tonight, and I'm also going to be joined a little bit later on after the Coach's Corner segment, I'm going to be doing an interview with LPGA Class A Professional Michele Trimarche. She's going to be joining me here in about an hour. And also a young man contacted me. He's just written a brand new book, which is going to be launched tomorrow through Amazon.com. It's called The Social Golf Course. Very interesting. You guys got to make sure you tune in a little bit later for that. Anyways, I've got three great gentlemen here that are joining me this evening. First up is Mr. Clint Wright, PGA Teaching Professional, and one of the founders of R3 Golf Academy. And you can check his website out at www.r3golf.com. Another gentleman joining me this evening is first time actually on Golf Talk Live is Stan Moore, also a teaching professional from the Boca Raton area, and he also works with the Don Law Golf Academy down in Boca Raton. So make sure that you check out his website as well at www.bocaratonGolfLesson.com. And holding out the fort here, if you will, is my good buddy who's been on the show before, Brian Dobbie, sort of warming up there in New Jersey at the Montclair Golf Club. He's joining us here tonight, another great PGA Golf Professional. And his website, if you want to check out Montclair, is montclairgolfclub.org. Gentlemen, welcome to Coach's Corner.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Ted, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Let me just read out something real quick here, guys, and then we're going to get right to the first question. As I mentioned before, every Thursday night you're going to have an opportunity, I'm, of course, referring to the listeners out there, an opportunity to call in or email questions to the program and be able to pick the brains of some of these guys and gals that are going to be coming on the program here for Coach's Corner each and every week. I'll have a different panel each week, and we're going to cover a new topic each week as well, plus help some of you weekend warriors with your game. So make sure that you call in during the live broadcast, which is from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Coach's Corner segment is, of course, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or you can or you can email your questions at questions.golftalklive@gmail.com. And the number to call in again is area code 646-716-4667. All right, we're going to start off with the first sort of theme of the evening, and that is building a swing from the ground up. And guys, this was a short email that was sent in from a youngster, really, in my eyes, since I'm going to be turning 50 this weekend. His name is Josh, and he's 21 years old. And he wrote to me, and he said, I listened to your broadcast, and since I'm a relatively new golfer to the game, I wanted to know if you can help me build a solid swing before all the bad habits sort of creep in. Here's a little bit about my game. I've played some, not a lot so far, never had a lesson, and not sure where the best way to go or what the best way is to go about this. Any suggestions on where to start? And I'm going to start with this, guys, if you will, and then we're going to go to Stan and Brian and then down to Clint. I think probably the first thing that obvious thing that I would do is assess what it is that you want to get out of this? Is this something that you want to do as a pastime? Is this something that you want to play fairly regularly? And once you've sort of gotten that in your mind, then that's really going to dictate your next step. And really the first step is to find yourself a good teaching professional in your area and sit down with him or her and talk about what it is your needs and what your goals are and ambitions are as far as golf. If it's something, as I said, it's just sort of a pastime and you're not really wanting to get too serious about it, then he or she can sort of dictate how they want to set the lesson plan. But I strongly urge, number one, that you do that. Stan, do you want to go from there?
Yeah, if I had this young gentleman come to me, and the first thing I would have him do is, of course, just take the club, set up, and hit some golf balls. I want to watch him hit the balls first, and then at that point, I'm going to take him from where he is. Okay, I want to see where he is at this point, and then go forward from that point. So that's what I would do with him to start off. I agree with you. We need to find out his goals.
Sure.
What he's looking to do. Does he want to become competitive with a game of golf, or does he just want to go out and play with friends on a weekend basis? You know, what's he looking to do here? So that's what I would do first with him. See where he is, talk to him, and then go from there.
Right. Brian, do you want to add to that?
Ted, you know, what you said about getting started with lessons is key. You know, if you can seek out a pro in his area that's got a good reputation, we all know how hard golf is, and it's hard for anybody if they're not taking lessons. That would be number one. I love the idea of the goals. You know, what are Josh's goals? Get him down the right path to try to hit those goals. And as Stan said, let's see what you have. A lot of beginners, they might already be pretty good hitting the ball and getting it around, and then that's the only way you can really evaluate where you need to go from there. So those couple things would be a good start for Josh.
Right, and Clint, I'm going to go to you here in just a second. The reason why I really think it's important, and I think this step gets missed a lot. The reason why I mentioned about sort of assessing that, Josh, assessing your goals, it's really going to help the teaching pro sort of formulate a lesson plan for you. Because if you're somebody that just sort of wants to play and take up the game and just sort of play it, Stan, as you had mentioned, on the weekend with some friends and that, as opposed to maybe playing competitively, that's going to give that teacher pro a different perspective, if you will, on how they're going to approach you with lessons. I mean, obviously, if you're looking to play competitive, that's going to formulate a different game plan for that individual to set up for you. And obviously, you're going to be looking at a greater deal of time that you're going to have to spend with that pro. So that's one of the reasons why I think, and that's something I think maybe some out here may forget once in a while, that we need to do more of that, is sort of assess the situation. Clint, you want to add in here as well? Yeah,
sure. Everything y'all said is correct, obviously, but those goals can change as well.
Sure.
We really, as a beginner, if he's starting out, obviously he may think he wants to be just a recreational player, but he may catch fire too and want to be more of a competitive player. We look at it in several different levels. Just the social player, or the social competitive, or the highly competitive type player. And those things can change as they grow in their game. But you're absolutely correct. I mean, a person needs to kind of have an idea of what they want to do.
Sure.
But what we also want somebody to understand and to know and have in mind is really what a good golf swing is. Here's what it looks like. Here's what components it has. And then try to help a person set a pattern or a path and stay focused on that in order to be able to accomplish that end goal and what a good golf swing really produces and what it is. Because we strongly believe unless you understand what it is, it's going to be hard for you to accomplish it. And therefore what we do is we try to find out what they want to do, know what their goals are, make sure we educate our students enough to know what the end result should look like, and therefore we think they'll stay focused on the path and the proper steps. One of the things that in R3, and our way of looking at it, is it's the right thing at the right time in the right way. And that helps them stay on path and keeps them focused on what they want to do. And what we've found, and I'm sure the other guys have too, is you get a student that really knows where they're going, got a true understanding, they're going to tend to stay with it longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're having difficulties with a certain phase, maybe keeping the club on plane or staying balanced, keeping their angles right, they may stay with that a lot longer and not get as frustrated with it if they have a clear understanding of where they're going. So I think everything everybody has said is perfect. It's a matter of getting them focused and getting them started in the right direction.
Right, and let me just add here something that I talked about last week with the panel, and I think this is, you know, in my opinion, it's important. As much as we want, we want, you know, students to come to our facility and be able to help them. I think it's important, for, especially somebody that's new to the game, that if you know the situation permits that there may be other options in the area, that they really need to approach more than just one teaching professional and talk to them and kind of feel it out. And the reason why I say that is obviously there are situations where, you know, things might gel and things might mesh very well, and then there's others that it may not. And I think it's a good idea that they shouldn't necessarily, you know, just sort of sign up with the first pro they come along. I think it's almost like an interview process, really. You know, it's an interview for us, you know, interviewing the students and getting an idea of what goals and direction they want to go, but it's also for them as well. They need to know that they're going to be able to feel comfortable with this, working with this person, and I think that's, you know, an important step in any thing that you do in life, but particularly when you're about to, you know, outlay some money, you need to make sure that this individual is listening to what it is that you want and is also, you know, there's a certain chemistry that is sort of developed, and that's, I think, is important. Guys, you want to chime in? Let's start with Brian.
Ted, good point. You know, finding a teacher that you're comfortable with is going to help the learning process. And after a few lessons with somebody, if you haven't hit that stage yet, move on, and you can always come back. But I think if you're comfortable with a teacher and you speak the same language, so to speak, the progress is going to happen even quicker. So great, I agree totally.
Stan, anything you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, I think one of the things I want to do with an individual is I really want him, or I want to understand his expectations. Mm-hmm. I want to know what he thinks he can shoot, how long he thinks it will take to get there. You know, you have a beginner golfer, he thinks he's going to take 3 or 4 lessons, and he's going to start shooting, you know, 85 all of a sudden. And his expectations are not in line. So I want to hear what his expectations are. Okay, that's important for me. And then the next thing I'm going to talk to him about is I'm going to tell him that for he and I to work close together, I need him to give me feedback on what is going on when he hits the golf ball. He needs to tell me if something's not right or if he doesn't understand anything. The more he understands, the better we can communicate. Okay, we're not there just to hit balls. We're there to communicate and find out what we did. And when we hit a bad shot, that's really a good thing. That gives us an opportunity to find out what we didn't do correctly. Okay? When we hit a good shot, that is a good thing. That gives us an opportunity to find out what we did do correctly. So I need feedback from him. So I talked to him about, I want feedback from you. Okay?
Right.
I'm here to help you. You came to me. I'm here to help you. So you got to give me some feedback. It's not all me.
Right, exactly. And that is important. Clint, you want to chime in as well?
Sure. I mean, everything they're saying is fine. I think that anytime you're in a learning environment, whether it be in the classroom or on the practice tee or on the basketball court, the relationship between the student and the teacher is a personal relationship. You got to be able to have some communications. There's no question about that. And you can call it feedback, whatever you like, but there has to be a conversation that takes place. And you know, I've been teaching. I don't know how long these other guys have, but I'm a little older than you are, Ted. I just turned 57, but I've been teaching over 30 years, and I have yet to be able to teach somebody how to play golf.
Right.
I've helped a lot of people learn how to play.
Right.
Okay, and that's where that communication, that conversation has to take place. And you're right. You've got to have feedback from the student, because unless they tell you, kind of where they're feeling, what their experience is, it'd be very difficult for you to help them learn anything different than what they already are doing. Videos are great, and eyeing it, look good, but you got to know what your student's thinking, because they're either frustrated or happy. There's not a lot of in between.
You're right.
You can learn how to play.
Right, and Stan raised actually a very good point when he talked about communications, because if the way I look at it is, obviously there are some people maybe a little shyer than others, but for the most part, if you're not getting feedback from your students, that's usually a pretty good sign that something isn't right, because they should be able to help you. Really, they're helping you in a way, because the more information that they can provide you about how they're feeling and what they're experiencing, the easier it is for you to make adjustments along the way. Because, one of the things that, and I'm going to go back in time here, one of the things that I think was always very bad in the industry was too often some of the older instructors, and I'm not referring to age, but I'm referring back in time, was that there was too much of sort of imposing one's will on the student and not really listening to what the student wanted. It was more about, well, here's what I'm going to do with you. And I think now as we've progressed in this more modern age, I think the majority of instructors understand this, that they have to listen first and understand what it is the student wants, what they're looking to do, and that's what we discussed earlier, in order to be able to really truly help them, because you're not really teaching them as opposed to allowing them to learn this great game that we've all aspired to. And something, as Stan said, if there's not that communication, it makes his job that much more difficult. I think we're all in agreement on that.
Oh, sure. It's impossible, not difficult. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Ted, myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chime in. Just to compound what Stan was talking about, like you said, he doesn't teach anyone. I agree. I think I like to give my students options, and I ask them to consider maybe doing this or that. Let them make the choice. Let them have some onus on the lesson, and I think that really feeds into them learning more if they take some responsibility of the lesson themselves. And I think as teachers, I think a good teacher is, if he gives an hour lesson, it might be 10 minutes of instruction and 50 minutes of clapping. To me, that's a good teacher. And, students need so much encouragement and stuff. And, they need to take that information and decipher it and say, what, this is why I'm doing this, because it's right. And I think if a student takes that approach, they're going to come along a lot faster than having someone say, hey, well, Stan told me to do this, or Clint told me to do this. I don't want my students saying that. I want them to do something because they know it's right. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, about our students knowing kind of what a good golf swing looks like, because you can call it a lot of different things. It's you got to have a little skin in the game. Your students, it's a joint venture between you and your student on how they're going to do. And one of the most disappointing things I think that you, as an instructor, is that when you're out there and it's 90 degrees and you're giving this guy a lesson, you're working hard, and they're not coming back a couple of days later or maybe a week or so later, and they hadn't hit a golf ball since they were standing on the tee with you. You're going to lose that student because they're really not putting the effort into it. Pardon me?
Yeah, last week we talked about that, Clint, and that's a great point. Especially for somebody starting out, as much as we don't want to lose business, we want to have these, men and women coming in and taking lessons. If they're not going to put the effort in between the lessons and working on, the different areas that they've been shown, then you're basically, you might as well just, have them hand you a wad of cash and wave them goodbye and go on vacation or something, because and let them, look at it as a paid vacation, because you're exactly right. If they're not going to work on, and I see this all the time, and I know all of you have as well, and I think it's pretty common through the industry, and it's something that really is not, at the fault of the instructors, because I know every instructor out there, emphasizes about getting out there and working on their game. but it's just something that people have a hard time, and there's got to be some things that we can do to change that, and we're going to talk about that in a later session. Let me just go, gentlemen, let me just sort of jump ship here real quick because I want to get through some of these other questions.
Sure.
I don't want to get into specifics about when I sort of did the teaser coming in about building a swing from the ground up. It's really about talking about how people get started in the game, and not so much a breakdown of the swing, because Josh is going to have to go out and find somebody that he can work with. But that's really what the premise is. And here's a guy that actually I had a question last week we didn't get to, and this is John from Knoxville, Tennessee, another great state. And his comments here first are, hey, guys, I have a pretty good game for the most part. Hit some decent drives. Chipping and pitching are pretty good too, as well as my putting. However, I really struggle with bunker play. I can usually get the ball out of the bunker, but not with much consistency. It's usually way short. Any suggestions? Clint, I'm going to let you start off.
Well, thank you for that one. I mean, but well, gosh, I mean, there's so many factors there, because you're dealing with what kind of bunkers is he playing out of, what kind of sand is in them. There's a lot of variations. I mean, one of the most exciting things I think I've done in a long time is go down to PGA down in Florida, and they got all this different bunker sand, and you can go out there and try different textures and stuff. But it sounds like to me, obviously, that he may, if he's always coming up short, he's trying to utilize the sand in the bunker a little bit too much, maybe coming in possibly a little steep, getting more of the effort into the ground versus trying to move that sand out of the bunker. I've always tried to teach people to utilize the sand and to move that sand out of the bunker. That's your objective. So what I would probably get him to do is try to take as little of sand as possible and try to make it go as far as he could. Use the ballistics of the sand to move the ball out. But you have to be able to get it sounds like to me he's probably coming in a little bit steep, and maybe try to flatten the stroke out a little bit, get a little more U-shaped versus V-shaped, and stop listening to some of the guys on Sunday afternoon at the club on how to get it out of the bunker.
Ted, one of the things I would
yes, go ahead,
Ted, one of the things I would recommend to that gentleman is sometimes coming up short is not enough speed in the swing. You have to have speed and create friction in this sand. And I would encourage him to go to a complete finish. He's probably too slow in his swing, and he's not going to a complete finish. And, you hear a lot of commentators, as Clint just mentioned, they want you to just stay steady there in the bunker. But I teach my students to create speed and swing through to a complete finish to get it out of the bunker. Your primary objective is, number one, to get it out of the bunker.
Correct.
Primary objective number two is to get it on the green, and number three, to try to get it close to the hole. So if we can start with number one, that's the first thing. And it sounds like he's just not even getting it out. So create speed and swing through to a complete finish. He should get the ball out of the bunker.
Man, I got to tell you, just listening to that instruction, we probably learned from the same source somewhere down the line. I thought I was just that was me talking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That
good.
was awesome. I like to. I'll add one more thing in. Bunker shots. I try to tell my students that it's 3 times the force of a pitch shot, the same distance. And if the sand's not getting out of the bunker, the ball's not going to get out of the bunker. So just like Clint and Stan were talking about, more force, more power. Use the bounce of the club, and most bunker shots that we fix, the club face isn't open enough. There's a little bit too much shaft lean, and there's definitely not enough power. So those 3 things, a little more bounce, a little bit more forward, and a little bit more force, that'll get that ball out.
And
let me just throw one.
To spend some time in the bunker practicing. You very rarely see that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, and that goes to going back to what our previous comments were. Not getting out there and working in between lessons and things. I suspect one of the other issues could be, and again, we have to take with a grain of salt here, gentlemen, because obviously we're not witnessing firsthand what some of the golfers that are going to be throwing us some questions our way. we're not visually seeing what's going on here, and we're sort of doing our best guesswork. But I suspect one of the other issues as well, a lot of times, especially amateur players tend to make this mistake, is they don't open up the club face at all or very little. And a lot of times, again, if you're coming in steep, that leading edge is just going to dig, deeper. And it sounds to me that that's part of what's happening as well, is kind of what Clint said. He's probably come in steep to the ball. Stan, what you had added there as well, not, a good follow through, not, with enough speed, and possibly not opening up that club face at all, and especially on a short bunker shot. If you want to get the ball out of the bunker is obviously the number one priority. But at the same time, if you're digging to China in order to do it, you're going to have a heck of a time. It might take you 2 or 3 shots to get out of the bunker.
Or just don't stay out of the bunkers, right? Just don't hit it in there. That's
it as well. Bunker shots are a little bit more difficult, really, to try without seeing what the individual is doing. It's a little bit more difficult to sort of pinpoint. But that was some great advice for John up in Knoxville, Tennessee. So, John, if you're tuning in tonight live, that's great. If not, make sure that you listen in later on the recorded version for some great tips from the guys here on the panel. I want to move on to our next question from an email. His name is Russ, and he's like me, a Canuck from Kitchener-Waterloo, Canada. Stan, I don't know if you're aware of that or not. The other two, I think, remember from being on the show before. But originally from Canada, you'll hear a few A's and a few bouts in the conversation here, and please keep your comments to yourself about that. But anyways, Russ from Kitchener-Waterloo wrote in, and he said, I'm inconsistent with my irons. I seem to hit some shots thin and some shots fat. And his question is, what causes this inconsistency? Let me start out first, then we're going to go to Brian. Really, there's 2 factors here, and I'll start with the thin shots. My experience, and certainly not in every case, but more often than not, rather, is a poor weight shift. There tend to the old reverse pivot, as we've referred to it in the past. More than likely, what he's doing is he's a little too far on his left, and then when he goes into his backswing, he's not shifting his weight properly, and then conversely, he has to shift to his right in order to come through, and he's hitting it thin. On the fat shots, obviously, he's probably coming in a little steep, I would suspect, in his shots. As far as that's concerned. And again, I know it's difficult, guys. We see what the individuals are doing here, but that tends to be traditionally what I've noticed with most people hitting thin shots. Thin shots tend to be more a weight shift, and fat shots tend to be leaving too much weight on the forward leg and not getting into that proper transition back for the backswing, and then conversely forward in the follow-through. Brian, do you want to chime in?
Ted, I kind of think of the thin and fat shot as a little bit different. Both of them, to me, relate to too much of your center behind the ball to the right, and it's actually not enough weight getting to the left side soon enough with the irons. As we know, we want that divot in front of the golf ball, and by shifting your center, your sternum more to the left, that impact, that's going to create that. And I just think that thin shot is, your weight's more centered, and you might be flipping in with your right hand and releasing too early. And the fat shot is when you're centered just a little bit back more with your weight on the right side, and you're grounding a couple inches behind the ball. So I'd tell Russ to, especially with his irons, hit some shots with a little bit more weight on his left leg. He might want to pull his right leg back and lift that right heel up just to move that center and start getting that divot forward. He's got to get his divot forward and not worry about hitting his fat, but just think about his center getting more to the left to eliminate those 2 shots. I'd start right with that. Where's his center in relation to the ball?
Okay, good point.
Ted,
Clint?
This is Stan.
Oh, sorry.
This is Stan. Let me respond to that. This is what I teach. There's only 2 reasons you're going to hit it, fat or thin. You don't have enough weight forward, or your hands have released too early. It can be either one of those, or it could be both of those. And if the hands are released too early, then the club has reached the bottom of the arc too early. And once the club reaches the bottom of the arc, it starts moving upward, and that's what tops the ball. So those are the two issues I find: not enough weight forward, or the hands have released too early. It doesn't matter whether it's a top shot or whether it's a fat shot. It relates to both of those.
Okay.
Agreed.
Excellent point. Clint?
Wow, don't even know where to start. Well, both of the guys, what they say is possible. Okay, a top shot can come from a lot of places. Hitting the ball fat comes from a lot of places. I think that if you look at it, we're talking about two things, and it's what these guys have just said. You're talking about how well they're controlling the pivot of their body around the center, and then how they're releasing the club. Okay, I mean, it's whether it's an early release or late release, it all comes down to how well they're moving that club, the tool, through the space. And then how well are they supporting that movement of the tool through the space. And what they said is absolutely correct. I mean, it all comes down to eliminating. One of the things that we try to do is to try to go through a checklist is, okay, how are you releasing the club? Where's the angle of the club? How are you positioning? How are you stabilizing your body in order to be able to move that release through the space? And once you can go through down that list and determine what portion of that you're not doing well, then you can develop a plan on how to correct it. And that's where video comes in, and getting a good eye, guys that know what they're talking about, like these two fellows here. They know what they're talking about. You go to somebody that can help you eliminate things that are working good in order where you can correct the problems, because we all know that we've got the armchair quarterback that's figured out, well, I'm doing this wrong. Well, what they figured out they're doing wrong, they're really doing pretty good. So now they're doing two things wrong. So it goes downhill pretty quick. So I would encourage them to get with somebody, get him on video, take a look at how the club's being released. Absolutely correct. If it's being released too early, it's going to create problems. And if the center of their body is moving all over the place, that's going to create problems too. In my opinion, most likely the reason they're not properly releasing the club is they're not pivoting and moving their weight properly in order to be able to release it correctly.
Right. Right, and that's really what I was...
That plays a part into it. That definitely plays a part into it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's really what I was trying to get at, in the beginning is improper weight shift, and a lot of times if they're not getting to their back leg in the backswing and transferring that weight properly, then they're going to fall back and either hit it thin, or in a case if they do try to make up for lost time, that's going to throw their timing off, and conversely, as Stan, as you indicated as well, they're not going to release that club properly, so they're going to come into it fat. So some great points, guys, and hopefully Russ up in Kitchener, Waterloo, hopefully you're tuning in tonight as well, and listening to the guys here give you some great advice on getting some consistency with your irons. And that's, Clint, I just want to add one more thing that you had mentioned, especially with this day and age with technology out there, there's really no excuse not to get yourself on video, and I strongly suggest that any of the participants in tonight's Coach's Corner that they go to their local PGA Teaching Professional and get their self on video, and have the instructor go over that with you and point out some of the areas that they spot, and really help you to understand a little bit more what it is that you're doing, not necessarily wrong, but also some of the things that you're doing right as well, so that you get a better view. And there's nothing better than a visual, as far as I'm concerned, in helping improve on your iron play or really any part of your game. But some great points, guys. And I want to move on to I need to keep this going, so I want to move on to question number 3. Unless anybody else, let me just stop for a second. Anybody else have anything they want to add to that?
No, I'm good. I think we covered that pretty well.
That was good.
Okay. We're going to go back to Stan on this one. Let me just read out here. This is from another couple. We had a couple last week, Richard and Mary from New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm gathering by the tone that Richard was the one, in fact, I know it was, that wrote in. He says, I'm 69 years young. My wife and I have played many, many years together, but we find we're not hitting the ball as far, and as a result, our scores have gone way up. Can you help? And he says, can you help us add a little more distance? Thanks, R&M, Richard and Mary from New Orleans. Stan, let's start with you. Any suggestions on helping them to maybe get a little more distance?
Yeah, I deal with this every day down here. one of the things I would encourage them to do is flare their feet at address. This will allow them to swing their arms more around their body.
Right.
When they keep their feet square, their hips are going to lock at a certain point, and then their arms lift. But by flaring the feet, their hips can turn and release back. They can get the club around them and a little further back. You're going to create a little bit more length at that point. Also, work on keeping your arms as straight as you can. As you get older, your arms get weaker. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's always a tendency for the older players to really break down. The elbows are splitting apart. The hands are flipping. So work on keeping the arms straighter. Open the feet and swing around your body. That's what we call angular momentum. And I'll give you an analogy on that. Straight back and straight through would be like a field goal kicker, straight back and straight through. They kick it 40 yards. Angular momentum coming around our body is like the sidewinder kickers. They kick it soccer style, and they kick it 60 yards.
Right.
So there's your analogy right there. Get that club moving around your body more, around back, your left foot open too, around coming through. And I would make sure as an older golfer they completely go all the way to the finish and get on top of that left leg. I find that a lot of older golfers do not use a lot of their body. They just become arm swingers.
Yep.
So more active with the body, flare the feet to start off, around the body, go to a complete finish. And work on hitting the ball in the center of that face. If you hit it in the center of the face, you're going to get more distance.
Perfect. Brian?
I agree with what Stan just said. I'd throw in also making sure they take a look at their clubs. I find that people that are older, they're still using clubs that they used 10 years ago. Maybe the shaft is a little too heavy. They're using steel clubs. They should be definitely considering graphite shafts. They're going to get more speed that way. I find that all the time. I would go down that road. I'd also check into possibly getting with a trainer, what kind of activities and fitness they're doing down there, and that can always lead to more movement, which can help the swing and get some rotation going, which can get some more speed out of the club. I'd go down those two routes, plus what Stan was talking about. Definitely flaring out the hips will definitely get some more movement out of the hips going back and through, and that's what we deal with older golfers, that they stop moving. So anything they can do to increase that range of motion is going to benefit the golf swing.
Right, and that's a great point, Clint. Before I move to you, Brian, that's a great point, too, about the equipment, because that was really another area that I had thought about as well, because you are right. A lot of, golfers just assume that, that they've been playing for 20 years, they can necessarily use the same equipment. And as we get older, obviously our flexibility and our strength isn't as what it was when, we were in our 20s. And if they're playing with heavier clubs or steel shafts or a stiffer shaft, that's going to certainly hinder their game as well. So they might need to, make that move to graphite. I suspect if they've been playing for any length of time, which I'm gathering they have by the email, I'm sure, or at least I hope, and if not, Richard, Mary, that's certainly a great point, is to go out and have your equipment checked and just make sure that you're playing with equipment that's suited for your game at this point. And also, Brian, you brought up another really good point, is about fitness, the end of it. Obviously, at 69, they're not going to be necessarily running marathons, but some stretching exercises and things like that that they can do to help with their range of motion and their flexibility a little bit is also going to help in any way. And Stan as well, flaring the feet out to give them more movement in the hip area as well. Is certainly a great thing. And Clint, I'm going to wrap this one out with you. Clint,
well, this is going to be really quick.
Thoughts?
I just want to tell the two guys, Brian and Stan, I appreciate the lesson. I'm going to run out and try that myself tomorrow. Because I'm getting to be an old fella too, so I'm going to run out there and find that 15 yards.
There you go.
I'm not going to add to anything they said. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. They're correct in everything they said.
Yeah, and that's true. The one thing that I do want to point out, and I've said this, and I know that there's probably people out there that may or may not agree with me on this, but one thing that has really concerned me over these last several years, and God love the equipment manufacturers. I like some of the technology, but a lot of people think that they're going to cure their distance issues with getting the latest and greatest drivers out there, and that's just not the case. I've said this all along, and I'm sure you would probably agree with me, guys. If you're not able to square the club face properly and make that center contact, I don't care what driver you put in that person's hand, they're not going to get that extra 10 or 15 yards if they don't know how to use that club properly. And the biggest mistake that I see with this type of question is that a lot of especially the amateur golfers, the pros obviously understand things better, but the amateur golfers think that, well, I'm going to go out and buy because so-and-so has come out with this new driver that's assuring me of this extra 10 or 15 or 20 yards. And the truth of the matter is that's not the case. In the right hands, yes, they might get those few extra yards, but in the wrong hands, it's not going to happen. And I think people need to understand and listen to some of the tips that they've been given tonight by the three of you, that's a better route than going out and maybe spending another $300-400 getting a new driver. That's how I would sort of approach that, is doing it the way that you gentlemen have suggested, as opposed to increasing the cost in their equipment purchase this year. Agree or disagree?
Oh, I
definitely agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Ted, if I could add one more thing to this equation, as we all age, we're all going to lose distance. There's no question there. But as we do that third shot becomes more valuable. Say on a par 4, we need to start perfecting our wedge game a little bit more because we're going to be missing more greens and stuff because of lack of distance. And then we need to refocus and say, you know what, I've got to get better at my wedges, and that's going to keep my ability to score up to par. So instead of worrying about the distance so much, let's just say I need to work on my short game, and those wedges become more valuable as we get older. We can still score if we have that part of the game that's working for us. You guys agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of a chuckle, but part of my job with TGM Golf Academy is I teach all the scoring camps. And we've developed a scoring plan, and this is cool, around the third shot. That's what we teach. If you can't hit the third shot on a hole, you can't score. Period.
Right. Absolutely.
If you can't make a third putt on a par 3 or a third putt on the third shot on a par 4, if you can't hit the third shot, you can't score. I really appreciate you coming with that, because it's a lot of times I get that crazy look like, what are you talking about? But you never see them advertising wedges on television. They only advertise drivers, because that's what our customers, that's what the general public, that's what kind of, like we say, that's what kind of turns their crank. Step out there and blast it down the fairway. I mean, that's exciting, and that's what they want to do. And what I encourage people to do is to determine whether they want to be a hitter or a player. Now, if you want to be a hitter, don't keep score. That's fine.
Right.
Go out there and blast it down the fairway. But if you want to be a player, then you need to learn how to hit that third shot. And, the drive, we all know this. The drive is just to set up the second shot, and the second shot to set up the third shot.
Sure.
And it's just hit it downrange. But that's what the excitement, and we do the same thing, guys. These Brian and Stan here, I guarantee that they've had as many drivers as I have. I have another one next week.
And probably still do. I'm quite certain of that.
We're just like they are. We're going to go out there and find that driver's going to give me that extra yardage. Only difference is we get them a little cheaper than everybody else does. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's just human nature.
True. And it's,
it's
something
that makes 20-foot putts.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'd settle for a 15-footer.
Yeah, exactly. Gentlemen, some great responses, and Richard and Mary out in New Orleans. I hope that helps you a little bit. The other thing, too, that I think, and Clint, that was a great point to wrap that up. definitely need to work on all aspects of the game. It's not a distance game. It's you have to look at all aspects of the game, and certainly I'm sure there's some improvements on putting and things like that. And distance, off the tee or what have you, is not going to on its own cause the scores to go way up. If they've been playing that long, I'm sure there's some other areas of their game. Everybody seems to think, well, I've lost distance, that's why my game's sort of gone down the tube, and that's not necessarily the case. It's certainly going to affect it, but given the fact that you're only hitting your driver on 2/3 of the holes, if that, distance is really, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, one of the things that we talk a lot about is for people to understand, it's not about maximum distance, it's about the proper distance. How many times have you guys played holes where you laid up off your drive because your driver would go too far?
Right.
We've all done that. It's about proper distance. We don't maximize. We don't tell people, well, you got to maximize that 8-iron. You want to hit it the proper distance. And that's what the tour players and the best players of this game know. It's not maximum distance, it's proper distance. And what can you produce on a regular basis?
Exactly.
Good point.
I got a couple of more questions here that I want to go through, and I'm going to pick one here just because Brian's on the panel tonight, but we got Tommy from New Jersey. And good evening, gentlemen. I'm gearing up for another golf season. Keep myself pretty fit by working out regularly, but wanted to know what I should do what I should be doing in order to get ready for playing when the snow melts. Can you help? Brian, you want to take that one?
Well,
what can Tommy be doing?
This winter's been kind of long, guys, for snow. We've had snow since almost November, so I'll tell you some of the things I do, and I'm just like everybody else trying to get out there on a golf course and on some grass, but a couple things I do is, I make sure I practice my putting indoor. I have a Dave Pelt's putting track. Those things are great to groove your stroke. 50 putts a day is going to keep you going there. The winter's a great time to just kind of clear your mind from swing thoughts and stuff. I don't spend a lot of time reading magazines and books and all that. That's going to just clutter yourself. But try to just go back to getting a club in your hand every day and trying to make some swings and do some mirror work, making sure your posture looks good. And just to get a club in your hand, your mind starts to think about it a little bit. And things like that will just get you used to setting up to a golf ball, because that's one of the first things when you start off in the spring that it's kind of foreign to you. So the more you can do that in your home, you'll get off to a quick start once that snow melts up here.
Yeah, perfect. Stan, I know it's probably a balmy 70 or so down in Boca Raton today, but any thoughts on young Tommy here from New Jersey on getting ready for the season?
Absolutely. Actually, the wintertime is one of the best times of year for him to learn his golf swing and to practice his golf swing. The best practice he will ever do will be inside his home without a golf ball. Because when we put the golf ball down in front of us, we don't know what our body is doing, especially an amateur. And that's where he needs to remove the ball, take his club, and practice 10 to 15 minutes a day, making a swing, slowly, very slowly, and he can then start feeling where his weight is, what his shoulders doing, what his arms doing, what his hands are doing. And if he learns to feel that over and over, then when he gets out on the golf course and puts that ball in front of him, he's got a better idea of the body mechanics that he needs to use to hit this golf ball. Wintertime, to me, is a beautiful time. It's a great time of the year to make a ton of money for professionals to get people to give lessons indoors without a golf ball. I've done it. And you can give lessons. It's just you're ingraining the feel in your body. So I think that's what I would encourage him to do right now before he goes out. And I would encourage him to do that even through the rest of his golf career. You know, he doesn't have to go to the range every day. He can get up in his pajamas, and he can make a golf swing for 10 or 15 minutes, ingraining the feel, and he's okay. One thing I teach, Ted, is I have a lot of clients who will travel, and they say, well, I don't have golf clubs to practice with in a hotel. I said there's no problem with that. All you need to do is go into the bathroom, take the washcloth out of the bathroom, grip it like a golf club. It gives your arms leverage, and you can sit there and make golf swings 10 or 15 minutes in your hotel room without ever having to pick up a golf club. You're ingraining your body motions and feel.
And I'm sure that the hotel staff would probably appreciate that you weren't swinging your clubs in the room anyways and breaking the lamp and the television set. But no, that is definitely, that's a great point, Stan. You know, you can really, the one great thing about golf, unlike many other sports, is you can really, you know, work at it anywhere, and you don't have to have the latest and greatest equipment in front of you. You can just, you know, a lot of things around the household you can use. You know, towel in the bathroom like that, you can certainly do. Is a great way to practice. And what I've always done in my career is I have, and I didn't spend a lot of money on it, but I got myself a full-length mirror because I occasionally like to look at myself. And I got down in my basement up north when I was back home there, and I would just, you know, stand in front of that mirror and I would practice, you know, my swing there, and I would, you know, get myself into the various positions that I wanted to really, you know, see where I was at, and I would practice that, and it would give me instant visual feedback. This is, you know, before video was on the scene, and you can do that very inexpensively. Go to your local Home Depot or Lowe's. There's a free plug, guys.
There you go.
And pick it up for a few dollars. And also, you know, if you don't want to spend, and I'm not trying to take away from anybody's business, but if you don't want to spend on some of the other gadgets out there, heck, you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot, plug number 2, and you can get yourself, you know, a short length of PVC pipe, maybe a quarter of an inch or half inch, and you can sit down and build yourself a station to help with your ball alignment, and your aim and so forth like that, and you can lay that down on the ground inside, and that costs you, you know, about $2 to get a couple of pieces of short PVC pipe that they can cut up for you. So, you know, there's a lot of great things. Clint, you want to throw some comments?
Well,
this
I
way?
think everything they've said is great advice, but the one thing I would put into that is before they start doing that, they need to make sure through their instructor that they know exactly what movements they're supposed to be doing. Is absolutely correct. The slow motion movement is a great teacher, but whatever you're doing is what you're going to do when you get out on the golf course. So you could be ingraining a great position, or then if you're not really clear on what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, you're ingraining a mistake. So I would highly encourage them to do exactly what Brian and Stan told them to do, but before they start is to be very clear on what they're trying to accomplish, because they will be ingraining whatever they continue to repeat. So make sure that you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing before you start that exercise. Would be the one thing that I would add to what they said.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you can really do. There's really not one or two things. You know, I can remember for years, you know, working on my game, you know, in the basement during the winter months, especially, you know, living up just outside of Toronto there for years.
Sure. And,
you know, the snow would heap up like I'm sure it has been in New Jersey this year, Brian. But, and, you know, just I couldn't wait to get out, you know, the first thaw and get out and play. But, and you know, when I was a little bit younger than that, they didn't have as many indoor practice facilities in the area at that point. It wasn't as common as it is now. So you didn't have a lot of choice, but, you know, in your rec room or your basement to sort of work on things yourself. And, you know, as Stan, you alluded to as well, that is really one of the best times of the year for an instructor to be able to capitalize on that and to be able to work with some of these people and get them ready for when they can get back out in the golf course. So some great points, guys. And, you know, Tommy, I hope that your you're getting excited for a new season. I hope that you're tuning in and listening to some of these tips that the guys are giving you here. Certainly some great sound advice for some top teaching professionals in the business. I want to ask, I'm going to jump down a question here because I want to be mindful of my time. This is from Bradley from Tucson, Arizona. Just let me back up before I said, was there anything else that anybody wanted to add to that, or I think we pretty much covered it all?
No, that's all I got to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good, Ted.
Brian.
Great.
Okay. I think that was a pretty easy one and didn't really take a lot of thought. Now, here's one here that might take a little bit more thought. Bradley from Tucson, Arizona. He says, I'm around a 10 handicap and want to get some tips on playing in the wind. I find the ball ballooning up and can't seem to keep it down. Not sure what to do. Can you help me play better in the wind? Clint, I'm gonna. Speaking of wind, I'm gonna start with you, Clint.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Actually, it did take a lot of thought for that previous question. But this one could be a little bit trickier. Well, obviously there's a number of things. Again, you get back to the release of the club, how he's releasing as he's overspinning the ball. You know, if the ball's ballooning on him, it'd be interesting to see what kind of ball he's playing with. So what I would hopefully try to gather some information from him before you make any hard things, because there could be a number of things causing the ball to overspin and to balloon up into the wind. But a lot of times you just need to go out and practice different techniques on how your swing will produce a lower ball flight. And you don't see too much of that being done on practice tees, going out and hitting, specific type of shots, trying to hit it low, hit it fade. As a kid, I grew up on a driving range that had trees down the side, so our job was to get the balls out of the trees. So we learned how to hit it low and to hit it high and curve it, and that you don't see that anymore. But I would certainly encourage him to try some different techniques, move the ball back in his stance a little bit, try to hold to kind of trap the ball a little bit more to get it down. But I would also encourage him to take a look at the spin rates on the golf ball he's playing as well.
Okay, good points. Stan?
When it's breezy, swing easy.
Yeah.
So I would tell him just to make a nice, smooth, easy swing when he's playing in the wind. I lived in Bermuda for 7 years and always playing in the wind, 20, 30 knots. So when it got windy, I just slowed my swing down and swung a little easier, and I got around the course pretty well. I agree with Clint there. You want to keep it low. You don't want to get it up. And, again, when you're swinging a little easier, that's not going to balloon the ball up.
Right.
But when you try to go after it, you're going to get it up and balloon it, and then it's just going to take off. So that would be my advice to him.
Good advice as well. Brian, you want to wrap this one up for
Yeah, I think all the points the guys made are great for hitting it low. I would add in just take more club, and if the shot calls for a 7, hit a 5-iron. Take 2 more clubs. That way, then you choke down. That's going to bring the ball flight down. But knowing mentally that you have plenty of club, you can tend to swing easier, keep your balance more. And that lower lofted club will definitely keep it down more. I really think guys try to, they balloon it because they're trying to push a club that's the correct distance, and that ball gets spinning up in that wind. So take 2 more clubs and choke down a little bit, put the ball back a little bit, and that'll definitely keep it down.
And what about, Brian, what about length of swing? From backswing, should they shorten that a little bit or make any changes in that area or no?
I don't think you need to make any changes if you're choking down. If you choke down, you're going to flex over more, which is going to reduce your shoulder turn anyway. So I like to play what I call a 2-2-2. Mike Adams, I'm going to give him a plug. He taught me this shot is called a 2-2-2. Choke down 2 inches, ball back 2 inches, and open up your shoulders 2 inches to get the ball back on line. But just because you're flexing over, your shoulders aren't going to rotate as much. So just take your regular swing, and those 2 other adjustments will bring that ball down. Try not to change your swing. Change the setup.
Good points.
Like it.
Great. Yeah, great points, guys. We're going to wrap up. This is going to be our last question. We're already, it's hard to believe an hour's gone by already. I'm going to finish off with one question, and I'm going to give you guys a few moments to be able to plug your facilities and things like that. This is from Jeremy from Pasadena, California, and I'm going to start, if that's okay, Stan. I'm going to start with you since we started with you in the beginning, and we'll go down to Brian and then Clint. His email starts off, "My short game sucks," is basically the first opener. His email. I don't seem to be able to make good contact with my clubs, especially around the green. I tend to hit my chip shots a little fat, or I end up sculling them across the green. My bunker shots are usually heavy too. Let's eliminate, just because of time, let's eliminate the bunker end of it. But it sounds to me that he needs a little better short game. That's probably where he's losing a lot of strokes. And what he's asking for in his question, he says, do you have some drills or something I can use to be a little more consistent with my short game? So, Stan, if you want to take us off on this one.
Well, I just generally find if you're hitting them fat, if you're sculling them, again, a lot of time the weight is too far back. And remember, a chip is, we're not using hinging action here. We're basically using a pendulum motion. So I would just tell him to get the weight forward, the hands forward, play the ball back, and brush the grass every time. Brush the grass every time, and use shoulders, arms, and a pendulum motion. Get your eyes over the ball like it's a putt. So the shaft is standing a little taller, and keep brushing the grass. Keep brushing the grass. That's his drill, brushing the grass. And if he's not brushing the grass, then either his weight is back on the right side or he's flipping his hands through. But if he stays forward and keeps his hands forward, he should be able to brush the grass every single time.
Good advice. Good point, Stan. Brian?
Let me attack the chipping first. I think if you get more vertical with that shaft and get closer to the ball, weight forward, hands left, that's really going to help. Most people get too far away when they're chipping and the club comes in off the line too quickly and they overuse their hands. So vertical is really good. We all remember Ray Floyd. Ray Floyd was one of the best chippers I ever saw, and he was right on top of that ball. I'd start with that. Also, start chipping with a less lofted club just to get some practice. You know, most guys, I don't know what Jeremy's using, but don't be using a sand wedge to start out. There's too much loft on the club. Start chipping with a 7-iron or a 5-iron or a 6-iron, something with less loft, and your tendency is to get the ball a little sooner. Those fat shots might go away and get his confidence up. So a little bit more vertical and less loft on the chipping, and that should help that. I would start right with that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Some great advice. Yeah, some great advice as well. Clint, do you want to end
Sure.
the last question here?
Things, I spend a lot of time with players. Is pretty much what I do. But everything that Stan and Brian's described is really trying to get a person to chip the same way they putt. And one of the drills that I use is I'll take them out there with their pitching wedge or sand wedge and their putter, and I say, I want you to hit this ball with a putter. Well, they'll take the putter out and hit it up and won't get a third way to the green. But then now I want you to take this pitching wedge and hit it the same way. Treat it like a putter. See, I'm a firm believer that there's only two types of strokes in golf, and where most people get in trouble is thinking this pitch shot or chip shot is some magical third method of hitting the golf ball. And so there's really only a full swing in the putting stroke. So the question you got to answer there is, do you need a full swing or do you need your putting stroke for this distance? Then you change clubs to create a different flight pattern. Same thing we do out in the middle of the fairway. I don't swing a 5-iron and an 8-iron differently. I swing them for situations. How far? What club do I need from here? So when I get up around the green, I usually work within about 30 yards of the green. I said, I want you to use your putting stroke here and then tell me what kind of shot pattern you want. Then that'll dictate what club you use. And therefore, they're using one stroke. They begin to develop it from the whole back. They got one swing, and then they're making some choices on what they got to do with the ball based on what's in front of them. Can they roll it all the way? Do you have to get it up in the air? What club they're using? I can roll it all the way. I can use my putter. If I got to hit it, don't need a lot of loft, I can use my 7 or an 8 iron. So I try to get them to teach people how to, or help them learn how to, use their putting stroke within 30 or 40 yards of the green and make their shot patterns different with what club they choose. I find a lot of people out there try to make the ball do something with their swing versus allow the club to do it for them. It's what the club's designed to do. It's just like, why do we use a putter on the putting green? Well, it's designed to make the ball do what we want it to. It's designed to make the ball roll. I don't change my stroke to make it roll. I pick out a club that's going to make it do what I want it to do. So that's what I would encourage him to do, is get that putter out there, 30, figure out what a putting stroke looks like, and start changing clubs. Stay with the same method of moving the club. But also, they're right. He's probably on his back foot a little bit and needs to get up a little bit more balanced. But I would encourage him to start thinking about using his putting stroke versus something special out there.
Very good, gentlemen. Great way to end Coach's Corner tonight. Some great advice, and the thing is, a lot of the advice are things that we've all repeated throughout our careers for I'm sure many years and many times over. That you pretty much know it like the back of your hand, but for some reason the general public still has difficulty understanding that, and you can tell them sometimes 6 ways from Sunday. And they just don't get it. But I think that through some of the technology with video and just, approaching things maybe a little bit differently at times, hopefully we're going to be able to, to help some of these players out there. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this program with Coach's Corner is, there's a lot of great instructors out there. There's a lot of great websites out there, and I'm going to let you guys chime in a minute here and direct them your way. But there's really not a lot of places that people can go to, where they can listen to a lot of different viewpoints, and certainly there's going to be a lot of similarities, but there's also some different things that, one instructor might think of that the other hasn't mentioned, and that's what I'm trying to do here with this program is really to bring a panel together every week and just let those listeners out there around the world that are wanting to help their games to be able to listen to some instructors' different viewpoints and different perspectives and just get a well-rounded thing. And that doesn't mean that they should disregard what they're being taught, but just to listen and might give them pause to think of some questions that they may want to go back to their own instructor and say, hey, I was listening to such and such the other night, and I want to ask you about this. And that opens up that dialogue that Stan was talking about earlier between the instructor and the student. So I want to thank you guys for pitching in tonight and helping my audience to become better golfers. Thanks, guys.
Oh, it's been an honor. Thank you.
Stan, I'm going to start with you. If you want to just take a moment here and just let the listeners know where you are and how they can get a hold of you if they're interested in your area and taking some golf lessons.
All right, super. I'm in Boca Raton, Florida. It's beautiful and sunny down here. My personal website is BocaRatonGolfLesson.com. I work specifically for the Don Law Golf Academy. Don has 4 academies here in Florida, Port St. Lucie, Boynton Beach, and 2 in Boca. I work at Osprey Point Golf Course in Boca, along with Ocean Breeze. And if you've never been to Osprey, it's as good as a private club, and it's a public golf course. We're doing 350 to 400 rounds every day at both of these courses here in Boca. We've got beautiful practice facilities, 2-sided range, bunkers, short game areas, putting greens on both sides. It's as good as it gets for practice. The last thing I would say to the students out there, you're learning to play a violin. Mm-hmm. And when you learn to play a violin, it's going to take you time to learn it. And Mozart's down the road. So if you want to learn it correctly, go see a good pro who's going to help you learn how to play that violin and that instrument that you have in your hand. You can reach me at 561-699-2616.
Perfect. Great way to end the segment, Stan. Thank you. Brian?
You're welcome.
For anybody that wants to meet me or reach me or take a lesson during the summer, I'm at the beautiful Montclair Golf Club in West Orange, New Jersey. It's a 36-hole facility, and it's great to work there. My cell number is 908-531-3637. For anyone that wants to take a lesson from me, they can go to swingfix.com. I'm a golf channel SwingFix instructor. If you just go to that website, swingfix.com, look me up as one of the instructors. Be glad to give anyone in the country a lesson that way. My mantra for all you golfers out there, and anyone that Montclair pretty much knows this, but he or she that rules the short game rules the game. So I'm a big short game guy, and I love teaching it, and take care of your bodies also. It's part of the package, and the stronger we are, the faster we can move that golf club. So keep having fun and enjoy the journey, everyone.
Great words to end it as well, Brian. Thank you. And, of course, last but certainly not least, Mr. Clint Wright.
Ted, thanks. For the two, with Stan and Brian, it's been an honor having a conversation with you tonight. I'd love to continue it. So please contact me by my email or phone number I'm about to give out here. I'd love to continue the conversation with you guys. But if you want to get involved with TGM Golf and the R3 approach, there's a couple different ways. You can go to our website, which is tgmgolf.com, or if you go to our Facebook page, which is an interactive page, we'd love for people to start, putting some stuff on there. It's a TGM Golf, the R3 approach, and some videos there. You can kind of see what we're doing and start a conversation. But it really has been great to be here, and Ted, what you said about what you're trying to do is a wonderful thing to start the conversation, and we'd love to have everybody. We're here in Anderson, South Carolina. We're at 7 different facilities where our academy instructors, Mike Lawrence and Todd Ellison, and I teach. You can get a hold of me at 864-376-4924 if you want to talk about that, and hopefully, Brian and Stan, y'all got those down. I'd love to, like I said, carry on the conversation about what y'all are doing, and because we can always learn too. It's just not a student teacher
right.
here. We learn a lot from other teachers and different approaches, and we're always out there like Stan and Brian are doing, looking for the best way to try to help people learn how to play golf, and look forward to maybe doing another Coach's Corner with you, Ted, and hopefully we'll hear from some of your listeners.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys back. We're going to be making this a permanent part of the show, and I'm getting some great, as I said, great emails coming through, and every day I'm getting new ones coming in. So we'll certainly have some other questions. In fact, I've got a stack of them to sift through, but I'm giving myself a break this weekend from doing it, just so I can celebrate my 50th. Lord have mercy. But anyways, we're getting.
It only gets better.
I know it does. I'm only kidding. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for coming on Coach's Corner segment tonight on Golf Talk Live. I appreciate it. And Stan, I'm going to be in touch with you. I'd love to have you back on, as I did with Brian and Clint, as a guest and interview a little bit more and let you talk a little bit more about what you're doing down there in Boca Raton. But, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. I've got my other guest for this evening on hold here, so I'm going to bring her on in just a moment. But thank you for joining me this evening, and you guys are welcome back anytime.
Thanks, Ted. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Ted.
Thanks,
guys. Take care.
Yep, take care.
All right. Good night, guys. Okay, that was obviously another segment of Coach's Corner, and I'm going to very quickly bring out my next guest. She's got quite a list of accomplishments. She's a PGA LPGA Class A Professional. She's also TPI certified as a golf fitness professional, and she's also a certified yoga golf professional, as well as a U.S. Kids certified instructor. I'll talk a little bit more on that. She's been on hold here for a few moments, so I'm going to bring her out right now. My next guest for the next little while is Michele Trimarche. Let me just bring her out here.
Hi, Ted. How are you?
Good evening, Michele. How are you doing?
Good evening. Thank you for having me on your show.
Welcome to Golf Talk Live. Not a problem.
I appreciate you having me on.
Well, thank you, and I apologize if I kept you waiting a little bit longer. I wanted to give the gentleman a chance to finish off the segment there, the Coach's Corner, and I think they enjoyed it well, and we had some great email questions that had come in over the last few weeks, so we got a few of those out. So hopefully they were able to get help. But I just sort of quickly read off a short laundry list, as it were, of some of your accomplishments. But let me just start this way, Michele. You and I, of course, have talked off air a few times, and you kind of have a general idea of what it is I'm trying to do with this program. And you're also aware of my new program that I'm going to be coming out in less than a month now for the women of golf, and I'm going to have you involved in that as well. But I want to give the listeners on this program a little bit, just a bit about your background and some of your credentials. So if you want to, I'll give you the floor.
Okay. I've been in the business for 26 years. I worked my way from the bag room all the way up to head golf professional to director of instruction. So I also had tied in fitness all those years prior to that, but nobody really was into it that many years ago. So now that it's up to date now and everything, I'm excited to be able to join my two passions together, fitness and golf. I was rated as the top 100 teachers in the Northeast by Golf Magazine and top 50 for Golf for Women magazine, and have worked Jim McLean and some of the best teachers and golf professionals out there with Nick Faldo, and a little bit of Ledbetter's background with Nick Faldo. So I've been around and have a tremendous amount of experience, and now at a private club, able to help members of the club. So it's a little different than where I was. I was with resorts prior to where I am today.
Right, and you mentioned you worked with some great professionals like Jim McLean and of course Nick Faldo, who also was a very prominent, very successful player on the PGA Tour for a number of years, and of course now he does more commentary now than playing, but has a great academy as well as Jim McLean, and you've had some two great gentlemen really to work alongside. And they were. I know Nick is involved with the Marriott brand and has worked with them for a number of years. And I know they're a great brand out there and have a lot of great resorts across the country and around the world. So obviously it was two great gentlemen to be working alongside. But I also see through some of the notes that you had sent me over here that you also had multiple Miss Fitness USA and bodybuilding titles as well. You were also very into fitness, and that's something that you wanted to sort of work together with your golfing career as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I when I got in the business, actually in the golf, kind of wasn't in the cards. I was actually a gymnast since I was 3 all the way to 16, and had a chance to go to the Olympics in '88. And as actually there was a boycott, actually we didn't go to the Olympics then, so my dream was pretty much shattered at that point. And my teacher had said, you're 16 and you can't, and when you were 16, you were done with gymnastics. So for another 4 years of training was not in the cards. So my grandfather came to me and said, you're either going to play tennis or golf, and you're too old for tennis. So when I got in the golf business, I really didn't know. And actually, Jack Nicklaus, I played with his daughter, Nan Nicklaus, in softball, and Jack Nicklaus used to come to all the games, and we saw him as just the old guy that played golf. We just he was kind of a nobody. But when we were playing softball, so my grandfather was speaking to Jack and asked him about me getting into golf, and he said, it'd be the best thing she could ever do, because softball was, what is she going to do, be in, a couples league? There's just no future in it. And being left-handed, there was a lot of unique points about me, and being a softball player, he said, she should be able to take on to it quickly. So I did. So I went at his club at Loxahatchee and started, but I did enjoy golf. I just didn't like it. I was so much of an athlete that I got bored with the sport, but knew it was something that my grandfather told me. He had passed away, so I did it for him and went forward with it, which thank God I did. But in the interim, after, and I worked my way up pretty quick from the bag room. I was the first female they hired, and they had bets going that I wasn't going to last, and I did. That's all I needed to hear. It worked my way up, but then the fitness came back into my life, and there was a trainer that was training one of the students, actually, who I was teaching. And I had asked what he was doing, and he said he was getting ready for a bodybuilding show. And I said, oh, okay, I can do that. So I went to the trainer and said, I'd like to be in a show. And so he said, okay, I can get you ready for 6 months, because I already had the statue of the physique from the gymnast. And so that's what I did. So in 6 months, I got ready for the show and took second and Miss West Palm Beach, and then took first. And from there, I was back into my element, and quit the golf business for a while, and went all the way to Miss Fitness USA, and then I came and I went to San Diego, and I was competing there, and ran into Tom Addis, who was the PGA he was going into the PGA, president of the PGA.
Right.
And so he kind of brought me back in, and he said, what are you going to do? You can only do the fitness for so long, but golf you can do for the rest of your life. So I believed him, and I got in the LPGA, and prior to that I was in the PGA. So I had to reinstate my PGA and stuff like that. So, but I still kept my fitness and golf competition parallel to each other, and I always thought, well, how come more people in the golf aren't working on their bodies to be able to create a better swing? And I always thought, well, if the body's not working, then you're not going to be able to develop a good golf swing, with good fundamentals. But everybody always said, no, you're crazy, you're nuts, golfers don't work out. So I kept them parallel.
And now that's what they all talk about. It. I mean, everybody's getting into the fitness, and that raises a really a great point. I mean, you were somebody that sort of kind of got really, for lack of better words, kind of on the cutting edge of that, because you're right. When you were when you were first, you had gone off and worked on the fitness end of your life for a while, and when you got back into golf, it was just sort of at the very beginning of before fitness really sort of took up. Now, I mean, it's, all you hear them talking about. And it is so true. People don't equate golf with a physical sport because, they're not, crunching into the linebackers and things like that, like they do in football, or running bases like they do in baseball. But golf can be a very physically demanding sport in other ways. And if your core particularly, especially, as we get older, and I've been kidding throughout the show here, I'm turning 50 this weekend.
Right.
And fortunately, my core is still pretty good. But obviously, it's taken a lot of work. But anyways,
yeah, it does.
But it's so important, because as those muscles start to relax and get a little more lazy as the years go by, it affects your golf swing. It affects your posture. It affects so many things. I mean, there's a laundry list a mile long. And especially as we get older, how important fitness is, even to play a sport like golf. And I think it's great that the PGA and the LPGA and that is starting to really bring this in the forefront, and not just talking about how to hit the ball and how to turn properly and weight shift and things like that, but they're trying to educate people about the fitness end, and also moving, not just the fitness, but the nutritional end as well is equally important. What you're putting into your body is going to affect your fitness end of it as well. So it's great that you're doing that, and helping to make golf a more enjoyable time for people that want to take up the game.
Yeah, it's basically just to try to make it more well-rounded. Even to add to what you said is breathing, and the mental part of the game has really changed my teaching as well, in my students as well. Just teaching them how to breathe. People just get locked up up there and get nervous, and muscles get tight, and the focus goes. So I think whatever they can do.
Right, especially, I mean, even an amateur player can experience some of that anxiety as well out in the golf course. I mean, if you're playing at a large facility where there's a lot of people around, especially on the first tee, and I mean, the pros even find it, even to this day, they still get those jitters a little bit, which is good. It's healthy in a way, but by understanding and learning, to breathe properly in that tension, will lighten up. But certainly it's not going to go away completely for some of the amateurs right away, because it's something that you have to learn. But it is a great thing. People don't realize that, and it's fitness, it's nutrition, and it's learning to breathe properly. And when you put all those components together, you're going to be able to, and Michele, just let me say this while we're on air now. As I said, you and I have talked a little bit in the past about the new program that I'm coming out for women, particularly for Women of Golf, coming out next month. I definitely want to have you on that program as well, particularly for the ladies. So I'm going to have you back, and we're going to get more into the fitness end of it when you come on that program as well. But tonight I just wanted to give the listeners just a little sort of sneak peek to Michele and her background.
Well, I appreciate that.
Before we move further. No, I appreciate that. And you're welcome to come back here at any time.
I'd love to.
But I definitely want to have you on the Women of Golf program as well. But I want to give you an opportunity to. So we're going to kind of end the fitness part of it here right now, if you don't mind, because I want to save that more for the other show. But you also do U.S. Kids Golf curriculum and that. Tell us a little bit about that, your involvement with U.S. Kids Golf.
The purpose of the U.S. Kids program is more or less kids that are from 6 to 12. For the younger kids, it's more of a program to have fun, encourage family interaction, and just building lasting memories. It's not too much technical involved, which is good. We try to keep the kids engaged with games more so, and kind of teaming the kids up so they don't feel, embarrassed or they feel like they have a friend or a teammate.
Right.
And it's really a program also as far as scaling the course. And what that is they take the U.S. Kids is combined with the PGA, and they take 2 sets of tees for the juniors. So one set of tees is for a junior that hits it 100 yards or less. That's the forward tees, and then they have the next set of tees for this is for the driver, and then the driver from 101 to about 140 yards. So those are 2 sets of tees, and the total yardage would be 1,500 for the first set and 2,000 for the second set of tees. So that basically they have a chance to make par. It gives them an opportunity to reach greens and regulations. So basically, if 2 players are playing and this person's hitting a driver and 7-iron, we want to be able to be at the same driver and 7-iron. So it kind of levels the playing field, and it makes it more enjoyable for the junior, but also the family. It's more of a family course for beginners, for ladies, for people that fit that basically driving carry distance. And then the curriculum.
And I think it's a right. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then there's a curriculum that we put them through tests, and all the way from putting to around the green to full swing to knowledge and scoring, and they go through different levels, 3 levels, and they get awards for each segment that they pass. So it gives them something to a goal-oriented to accomplish something, gives them confidence, but it also teaches them lessons in life and winning, but, winning properly. And within their...
The one thing that I was going to add very quickly here about this particular program and why I like it, there's so many different junior programs that are going on right now, and I think why it's important, because you really hit it right on the head, is including the family. there's been a lot of, in recent years through, things like social media and so forth, there's been a lot of disconnect in the families. And,
yes, absolutely.
And I think, I'm glad that golf and many, many instructors now are getting into junior programs to get them not just about, getting new golfers into the business, but also working out and getting them more involved so that it becomes a family, sport as well. Obviously, there's a lot of other great sports out there, but golf is really one of the very few sports out there that really all of the family members can play. I mean, you mentioned Jack Nicklaus earlier. I think just about everybody, if not everybody in his family, with the exception of maybe Barbara, plays golf. His boys certainly have, and of course his daughter has. So, there's a good example. And I think it's great because, they can do their own individual things, but they can also go out and have some great family time and have some, commonalities to talk about, whereas a lot of households today that's, far and few between. When the kids come home, it's, they're onto Facebook and they're onto Twitter and things like that, and there's not that communication, whereas, golf can be used as a common thread. It's a great life lesson as well as, a great sport to be involved with, and it's something, as you had indicated earlier, through, people that you've talked to, it's a great way, as we advance in years, it's something that we can play comfortably, and not have to worry about, any severe injuries and that sort of thing, much like some of the other sports have out there. So, golf is something that we can play well into our golden years, and it's something that as a family, we can play as well. And I think it's just a great way to bring families together. So I'm glad to see that, both the PGA and other components out there are bringing this more to the forefront right now. It's a great way, I think, to advance the sport.
Yeah, and I always say, with families going to like movies and ball games to watch a ball game, they're not interacting, but in golf, they're interacting, for those 2 to 4 hours, but, constructively, they're together. So the time is...
Right, and the reason why I brought that up and why I wanted to sort of, put an exclamation point on that is, I know myself when I've gone out, whether it be in a restaurant, and I see the way the culture is right now, everybody's looking down at their cell phones or they're looking down at their tablets, and, you walk into a restaurant and technology has sort of consumed it. And golf is really a great way, I think, again, to help unite families. It's something that can be fun. It can be interesting. You can make some games out of it, challenging. It's not all have to be, playing 18 holes. There's a lot of things you can even do at some of the practice facilities, while you're playing 9 holes, and maybe afterwards you can get together, especially with the little, little tykes, you can take them out there and have some fun activities and make it interesting. Or you can even, even just play something like mini golf once in a while is good, but just to get that, that sport in front of them. And it's just, again, it's a good life lesson as well. Golf teaches us many, many things that we can use later in life. Patience, for one, is a great one. But there's so many other things that can be confidence, exactly.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about broken bones and missing teeth and things like that. So, but so it's a great way, and I'm glad that you're involved with it. And I know that you've been involved in so many things. And as I said, you've got such a list of things that you've been involved with. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get through them all. And I want to save some of that for the next time when I have you on the Women of Golf program, because there's a lot of things that I want to talk about. But I want to give you an opportunity, as I said, to be introduced to my audience here. And before I close off on this segment, I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about, you obviously work at the Alpine Country Club up in New Jersey. So let some of the listeners know during the summer what they can expect to see there.
Yes, it's in Bergen County area. It's a private club, but I do teach outside non-members, so they're more than welcome to come over.
Okay. And how can they get a hold of you?
It's Michele, Michele, at alpinecc.org. Okay.
Perfect. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were going to talk a little bit about the club. Go ahead.
No, it's just if they wanted to come in, I teach full-time. I right now the programs I'm doing are for ladies. I do personalized programs where I combine the fitness yoga and the whole short game, full swing, playing lessons all combined. And then also the kids, if families have any kids that are interested in getting their kids involved between 8 and 12 in the U.S. Kids program, I'm more than happy to teach them.
Well,
they can definitely email me, and I'll get right back to them. I'm there April 15th to October 15th.
Okay, and then you... Yeah. Hopefully, once the snow dissipates, I'm sure you will. Brian, that was on during the early part of the program. He's from New Jersey. He's a teaching professional up at Montclair Golf Club.
Okay, and, I can find me.
So he was not too far away, and we were kidding him before we went live on air, and a little bit on air too, but about some of the weather, and he was saying that it was probably one of the worst winters he can remember in a few years. So I'm sure he's eager, as I'm sure you are, to get some good weather here. And I meant to say this to him. I said that he needs to pack his bags and come down to Florida. But
I know.
but obviously I know New Jersey's a great area, some great golf up there in the summer months.
Yeah, definitely.
So for all of you, for all of you listening, Michele, I want to thank you for coming on Golf Talk Live tonight. And
thank you. It's been an honor to be on.
I'm going to have you back again as well. And I think I might have mentioned this to you before, but if not, I would love for you, and we'll talk about it more after, but at another time. But I have a new segment that starts off the show every week now, starting last week, called Coach's Corner. And I would love for you to sign up for that, and I'll give you all the details of that. And normally what I have is a panel of 3 golf professionals from all over the United States and around the world. And we take some questions and things like that from some of the listeners, and emails and things like that, and get your feedback and see if we can help some golfers out there. Yeah,
that would be great. I'd love to do that.
So I would. I'll give you I'll send you an email after the week, and I'll send you an email because
after your 50th. So happy 50th.
Yeah, don't rub it in. But Michele, I know it's not bad. But
it's
I'm
okay.
actually looking forward to it in a way.
Second new phase in your life.
That's right. It's all uphill, as they say, or is it downhill? I can't remember now. But,
no, I think it's uphill.
But thank you. I'm going to look at that way. I'm not looking downhill yet. But Michele, I want to thank you for coming on and spending a little bit of time with us here. And I'll also be in touch with you as well, about the other Women of Golf program that's going to be starting on April 8th. I've got a lot of exciting things going to be happening with that, and we'll talk more about that. But Michele, thank you very much for coming on and talk for a few moments for my listeners here on Golf Talk Live.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, you too. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Michele Trimarche from New Jersey, and she was just talking a little bit about some of the things that she does to help you golfers out there. So I'm glad that for those of you that tune in tonight and want to get more information, I will tell you a little bit more at the end of the program. My next and last guest for this evening is a young man that reached out to me through social media, funny enough, and he's here to talk about a book that he's actually going to be launching tomorrow on Amazon.com, and his name is Zeb Welborn, and he's the author of a new, very interesting book I'm quite curious about and want to hear what he has to say, called The Social Golf Course. So let me bring him out here, and we'll talk to him for the last few minutes of the program. Zeb, welcome to the program where you're on Golf Talk Live.
All right. Hi, Ted. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Sorry for keeping you on hold there. I just had to wrap up my last segment here. Zeb, I've already introduced you to the listeners here tonight, and want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about the book. I know it's getting ready to launch tomorrow, and the new book that you're coming out with, the Social Golf Course. So let me just start off first, Zeb. Let me give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your background, your family, and you indicated to me that you come from a rich family background in golf. So let me give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about that to the listeners.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's see. From an early age, I started playing golf. My dad introduced me to the game when I was 11 years old, and I kind of took it up from that point on. But my family, especially on my mom's side, has a really rich history in the game of golf. My great-grandfather, he came over to the United States, and the only thing that he had with him on the ship over from Scotland was a recommendation letter from James Braid. And, if you interview our golf historians, James Braid is one of the biggest names in golf. So he came over to the United States. He was the head club designer for McGregor. And then, in my family, my mom's side especially, was always involved in the game of golf. And then my grandfather, he was he's head of the men's club at his local golf course in here in Chino Hills, California. And as for me, I started worked at the golf course, Los Torontos Country Club, at 17 years old. And I pretty much worked my way up the ranks. I worked at the pro shop, and then I got a job as a high school history teacher. So I left the golf industry, and I taught high school for several years and realized it wasn't for me. And then I got back into the golf course industry doing social media at Los Torontos. And that's my background on golf.
Right, and it's important. We've talked, many times on the show about the advantages of social media and how it helps businesses in general, but particularly how it's helped the golf industry. And that's why I wanted to have you here when, you had reached out to me through social media and indicated that you'd like an opportunity to come on and talk about your book. And I think it's very pertinent to what we've been talking about here over the last year or so with social media and how it's helped, and how it can help those in the golf industry. So let me just sort of jump ship here for a quick second. Now, I know, tell us a little bit about your co-author on this book, John.
Yeah, so John Hakeem, he's the co-author, and he's also the owner of greenskeeper.org. And greenskeeper.org, it's a social media, specifically for golfers here in Southern California. I think it started mostly as a review site. He started posting aeration schedules for local golf courses, so that way golfers wouldn't show up when it was being aerated. He's expanded that to offer so much more features. He's in a lot of different sections of the United States, and I know that he's working on creating a mobile app that's supposed to be a lot bigger, a lot larger, but I know that he has strong condensations in Southern California. There's a lot of reviews and ratings there. I think Florida and in different parts of the United States. And actually, I'm doing their Facebook page for them as well. So we're doing a lot of collaboration in that with Johnny, and he's a really great guy, and he's doing a lot of great things for the golf industry too.
Now, let me ask you a little bit about the book, The Social Golf Course. Why did you decide to write the book?
Well, going around to different golf courses and talking with Johnny, too, the co-author, is, we really found that there was a lack of understanding about how to implement social media correctly at golf courses. And, we see, obviously, since I'm in social media, I would like a lot of different golf courses and follow what they were doing on social media. And I just saw that there was just a lack of understanding on how to do it properly. So we really wanted to write the book to educate the golf course industry. As my family history and with Johnny, I know he's very involved in golf, but we're very invested in the game of golf. And we just saw that, we know it's been struggling in recent years, and we really wanted, and we kind of thought part of that reason was because we weren't marketing in the tools that were available for us today. So we really wanted to educate golf course owners and operators on how to run social media effectively, reach more golfers, and get them to play more often.
Great advice. What specifically is covered in the book?
Well, we pretty much go over everything. We talk about the philosophy. In the beginning of the book, it's kind of talking about the philosophy and the change of our economy and how it's becoming a much more social economy. And so we're kind of going in the theory behind it and why you should be using social media. Towards the end of the book, it gives a lot more practical information about how to actually do social media, how to implement it properly, and gives a lot of really good advice and useful information that golf courses can start implementing right away. So we've really much run the gambit on social media and how you can apply it to golf courses. But I will say it is kind of like a 101 type book just to get an understanding of social media and how golf courses can leverage it to do a better job.
But I think, though, even though, it is a 101, and obviously for some of the more novice people in the golf industry out there that maybe are still a little bit skittish about using social media, and I have a couple of points I want to ask you about, not so much related to the book, but your train of thought with social media, and that was one of the other reasons I wanted to have you on here. Is there a point, and I'm a firm believer, I've certainly used, and obviously that's how we met, social media to promote the Golf Talk Live program and some of the other things that I'm doing. But should there be some caution used as well? Is there a fear that we may go too far with social media to the point that it overtakes everything? Is there sort of a balance that we need to find and strike, and is that something that you've covered in the book, or is that maybe the book number 2 that's going to come out? My question really is do we have to also be careful that we don't overdo it with social media? Is that something that we need to guard against as well?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think that when you compare social media with any other type of marketing or advertising, is that social media, I mean, the benefits far outweigh those other platforms. The traditional marketing methods, so like, putting an ad in a magazine or doing a commercial or that type of stuff, and we go over that in detail in the book. But as far as overdoing it, I mean, you can overdo it. I think, like, for example, I'll talk about Facebook real quick. Facebook has their own algorithm where they decide how often the posts show up in people's news feeds. And if you post too frequently, is what Facebook will do is it'll limit that amount. But I think it kind of changes from time to time. It's about 3 hours. You get a 3-hour window before you should post again. So you definitely don't want to post that often. I think the main thing you want to do is keep in mind what your target market would appreciate. I mean, it's just with anything, like developing a price point in what you're selling. Like if you're selling a round of golf, you've got to figure out what your price point is, a price point that makes sense for your customers. It's the same thing with social media. You've got to figure out the amount of frequency that makes sense to your customers and then develop a plan and strategy to attack that. So I think that's kind of the way I look at it, and I think that's the way golf courses should too.
Well, give me an example of some of the things that maybe from what you're, and obviously we don't want to get into names or anything, but as an example, you said you followed a number of different golf courses, and obviously your target audience, not so much audience, but your target group that you focused this book on was golf courses. What were some of the things that you saw that they were, that they were doing wrong, and what were some things that you saw that they were doing right?
That's another good question. The things that golf courses I found that were doing it wrong was there's a couple of things that a lot of golf courses were doing wrong. And one was doing like all sales messages. So everything that they put out was like, hey, we've got this golf special, hey, we've got this event, hey, we've got this, and that's all it was, is it's just a push marketing, just like they would do in a newspaper magazine. But you've got to understand that social media is different. And then the whole goal with social media is to create a social atmosphere. And so it's taking online and offline and kind of incorporating them together. So instead of posting like a sales messages, constantly getting sales, I mean, we as individuals are learning how to filter those out. So the way we get around that is by creating, like ways to connect our golfers with each other. So instead of, let's say, posting a sales messages, we post a question, what's your favorite hole on the golf course? You post that question, and then you get people that are actually responding to your Facebook post. Oh, my favorite hole is 9, oh, my favorite hole is 12, and then you get a little discussion going on your Facebook page, whereas if you're just doing a sales message, just people don't engage with that. And I think what social media has found is that engagement leads to word-of-mouth marketing, and word-of-mouth marketing is the best marketing you can have for any business. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, finish your thought. That was one of the things. And then the other thing is just they're not creating opportunities for people to engage, and they're not making it authentic. So like there's one golf course, they're using just all stock photos. They're doing real general posting, whereas at a golf course, there's so many things that go on a daily basis at your golf course. Or if you take that, you put that on social media, and that's the stuff that people connect with, the things that are actually happening at the golf course, and the ones that are doing it wrong are just kind of putting these generic posts out there about I don't know, who won the last golf tournament, which is okay from time to time, but if that's all it is people aren't going to connect with that.
Right, and one of the things that I try to do with my my social media, obviously I have quite a few followers, both on Facebook and LinkedIn are two of the primary, and of course I've got a fair number. I'm certainly working on numbers with Twitter. I'll be honest, I'm not a big person. I don't do a lot of tweeting, but I know it's important, and people like to have that sort of instant connection. But I've been building on that. but obviously my Facebook and my LinkedIn particularly, for different reasons, of course, I've got quite a following, and you know, one of the things that I try to do is I try to use it for two purposes. One is to make announcements, but also to update what's happening with the program. I use it primarily, to be honest. I've kind of gotten away from more of the social aspect of Facebook because I find, you know, it's a lot of it's, you know, I hate to say this, but gibberish at times, and it's really counterproductive to what I'm trying to do. And so I try to use my Facebook. I mean, obviously I certainly connect with friends and things like that, but the majority of it is I use it as a business tool, as I do with LinkedIn. It's really to update people on the program, to let them know what's happening, who the guests are going to be, and that sort of thing. And I find I get a lot of people engaging. You know, when I started my new segment, I've been announcing it for quite some time, Coach's Corner, which was on earlier this evening. You know, I started promoting that through the different social media sites, and as a result, I got not only a lot of coaches and golf instructors wanting to participate in that format, but also a lot of people sending in emails and questions that they want to have read out on the air and have answers to help them with their game. So, you know, it's helped me in many ways to be able to do that. Now, I don't do a lot of, because I do the on-air radio broadcast, I don't pose a lot of questions like you suggested on my Facebook page or things like that, because that's what I'm using this on-air program for, to be able to pose those questions and get people. So I'm kind of, and that's the other reason why I brought in this format, the audio format, is to take it that one step further, because really my train of thought for this program was on Facebook. There are, you know, a gazillion golf groups and things. There's lots of great communication there, but it's all, you know, through the Facebook format. And, you know, it's a matter of, you know, if somebody happens to sign in their Facebook account today, they might, you know, get updated and things like that. But if they're not in for a few days, whereas in the audio format, people can tune into this program anytime and they can hear, and it sort of adds a little more personal element as opposed to just reading a post or a comment on a Facebook page. And I found it to be very successful. Now, I'm sure there's things that I can do differently. So if you were going to, let's use me as an example. If you were going to use some of the things that you talk about in your book and give me some advice on how to better use social media, what would you advise me to do as an example?
Well, I mean, you kind of touched on it. I mean, I think you have a pretty good understanding just on the Facebook portion. I'm trying to get to your Facebook page just so I can check it out and see exactly what you're doing, so I can give you like proper advice, but I'm having a tough time getting there. So, anyways, what I would say is that you just have to think of, you know, your customers and what they would engage with. I think that's the main key. When we talked about, and I think the audio podcast, I mean, you're doing a live show and you're having it available afterwards. It's fantastic. And I'm actually, I mean, I don't know if you mentioned this to your listeners earlier, but I do the Defining Success podcast. So I have a podcast myself, and it absolutely is. It does have great value in addition to the stuff that we're doing online with Facebook and that type of thing. But if you keep your customers in mind, the people who are actively involved on your Facebook page, and give them what they would want, one of the things that I'm trying to do, and it's actually kind of difficult when you're doing a podcast, different Facebook pages lead to more engagement. You know, like golf is a pretty easy one to get people excited and talking about golf. I worked for a scrapbooking company at one point, and it was extremely easy to get people talking about scrapbooking. So some of them lead towards more engagement. I think your Golf Talk Live would probably be along that same line too. But it's just thinking of what they would want to engage with and what they would want. So like maybe just not posting the schedule just as is, but maybe when you post the updates about your new shows and the upcoming guests, maybe you can give them a little question that goes along with the guest that's coming up. Like, what question would you want me to ask them? Or think of ways that they can engage and participate in the process. I think that might be a really
right, and that's what we did that's what I did with the Coach's Corner segment, was really to engage the audience more, as opposed to, initially what I did when I started it, and I still, of course, have interviews, but I started with an interview process with a lot of different teaching professionals in the industry, and give the listeners an idea of who some of the people out there in the business are. But I wanted to take it to another level because, I mean, after a while, as much as it's interesting to do that same format all the time is just not going to, eventually people will just say, well, okay, it's just another teaching pro. So I wanted to add an element to engage the audience more, and so far it has worked quite well. But I wanted to create a panel discussion so that they can participate if they want, but they can also just listen to some discussion about different tips and things, and about the golf industry in general, so that they can get some other perspectives in the game. And so I brought that in. Now, I'm moving into another phase where I'm actually attacking, if you will, the women's side of things. There's really no programs out there for women, and along the same idea. So I'm actually coming out with another program, which is starting out next month, called Women of Golf, and it's essentially a similar program to this, but it's gearing to the female market. And again, it's to engage them and to get them involved and talk about things that are important to them. And that's something that's not happening right now. So this is what I'm trying to do with this program. And this is one of the reasons why I think that your book is very important to a lot of golf courses out there. It's great to put the sales pitch on your Facebook page and on your website and things like that. But you're right, you have to engage your audience and your followers more, and social media is one of the things that has been proven to be very, very effective. Give us an idea of some of the feedback that you've received on the book so far.
Oh yeah, we got some great feedback. Before I do that, I did get a chat. I got onto your Facebook page while we were chatting, and just little quick things would be you shorten the length of the post. Like if you get too wordy in the text side, a lot of times like on the text, is people kind of breeze through that and not pay attention to one section of the text. So you just have a quick question or a quick quote in there, and then you want to spread out your posting. So maybe a third text, just plain text post, maybe a third with because Facebook is a very visual image, and most people are looking on their mobile phones. So you want to have a visual platform there, so a picture, and then a third like you're doing with the links. It looks like mostly we're just including links, and you kind of want to separate them between the three. But that's the brief advice there. But as far as the feedback goes, I think one of the coolest things was I got a phone call, like literally, because you mentioned that we're having a hard launch tomorrow. We've actually already launched the book. You can buy it today. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called The Social Golf Course. You can buy it on Kindle, and you can actually buy a hard copy, which just came out a couple days ago. But when we first posted the Amazon copy, I did it like 8 in the morning, and it was a couple weeks ago. And at 11 o'clock, I got a phone call. I got a Skype message. I think it was a Twitter message. I got a Twitter message from this guy. His name is Golf Biz Insider. And it was this guy from Scotland, and he's calling me from St. Andrews, and he wanted to set up a Skype appointment, so he got on the phone. And he said, so he got on the Skype with me, and he says, Zeb, I read your book, and literally I was thinking about reading the first page or two, but then it was so good that I got so wrapped up into it that I read the entire thing. And he's like, and I've got to tell you, I don't like anything. I don't like, I'm not a complimentary person. He called himself an expletive. He says, I'm just a mean guy. But I loved your book, and I thought it was fantastic. And then and that's when I asked him, well, where are you from? He's like, oh, you might have heard of it, a little place called St. Andrews. So that was pretty cool. And then everybody has given us reviews on Amazon, has given us excellent ratings. I think we've had every one of them has been a 5-star rating, except for one, which is a 4-star rating. And they've all been glowing reviews. We're really excited about it, and we're having a golf tournament tomorrow at Los France Country Club, which is the one where I started doing the social media for, to do the hard launch of the book. So I've been preparing for that all day, and it's been a lot of fun. And actually, we had a much bigger turnout than what I thought we were going to have. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, that's fantastic, and I'm glad. And it sounds like it's going to be a great book for really anybody, not just golf courses. Not just golf courses, but really anybody in the golf business can certainly pick up a copy. Very quickly, Zeb, if you can, just let the listeners here know where they can get their hot little hands on a copy of your book and how they can get more information about it.
Well, the book is live in Amazon, so you can go to Amazon, type in The Social Golf Course. It's the first thing that comes up. So you can buy it in Kindle or you can buy it in paperback. If you want, you can always contact us. We built a website specifically for the book because we see this more as like a social golf movement where we're getting golf courses and to think more socially because there's just so much potential that we're just scratching the surface with this stuff. So We've created a social golf course to invite people to come in and have discussions about social golf and what it means and how we can all improve and grow the game by thinking socially. So they visit socialgolfcourse.com. And obviously, my name is Zeb Welborn, so ZebWelborn. And, I have all the social media tools out there, so you can reach me at any one of them, and you can find me through that.
Well, I appreciate it, Zeb, for coming on Golf Talk Live tonight and telling us a little bit about your book and about social media. And I'm definitely going to have you back on again to talk a little bit more. We're just getting ready to wrap up the program for this evening, but I want to thank you for coming out. And if you want to send me all of the specifics, I think I've got most of it. I will make sure that I have that information made available on my website. So if anyone chooses to purchase the book and happens to be surfing along my website or my social media, I'll make sure that they get the information needed to go and make a purchase on your book.
All right, yeah, that sounds fantastic. And if anybody does want to reach out for me for like a signed copy or for some advice or questions on social media, I'd be happy to answer those too. And Ted, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'm really glad we got this opportunity.
Not a problem, and we'll definitely talk again soon. Zeb, thank you very, very much for again coming on Golf Talk Live and talking a little bit about your new book, The Social Golf Course. Much continued success with it, and I'm sure it's going to be a winner.
Thank you so much.
All right, you have a great evening.
All right, bye.
Okay, we're just got a minute here left, and I'm going to close off the program. I want to thank my guests this evening. I want to thank Stan Moore and also Clint Wright and Brian Dobbie for joining me on another successful segment of Coach's Corner. I want to thank the gentlemen for participating this evening. I appreciate all of your input and your insight into the game, and I hope that those that had written in email had an opportunity to listen to the program, and if not, the recorded version will be made available shortly, and you can listen to the answers given by the three PGA Teaching Professionals. And just to give you a quick rundown very quickly again, the participants tonight in the panel were PGA Teaching Professionals Clint Wright, and of R3 Golf Academy. And if you want to get in touch with Clint, you can visit his website at www.r3golf.com. Also on the panel tonight was Stan Moore, another very seasoned teaching professional. Stan works with the Don Law Golf Academy down in Boca Raton, Florida, and his personal website is www.bocaratonGolfLesson.com. That's Stan Moore in Boca Raton. And last but certainly not least, Brian Dobbie, also another very accomplished PGA Teaching Professional. And he is, of course, at the Montclair Golf Club in New Jersey. And you can get more information and get in touch with Brian at www.montclairgolfclub.org. Thanks, guys, for pitching in tonight on Coach's Corner. Certainly enjoyed having you on the show. And I want to thank my other two guests tonight, Michele Trimarche, who is also a LPGA Class A Professional, and she is also a TPI Certified Golf Fitness Professional, as well as a Certified Yoga Golf Professional, and is involved as a U.S. Kids Certified Instructor. So she's got quite the credentials there. Thank you, Michele, for reaching out and being on the program tonight. And I look forward to having you on again and participating in some of the Coach's Corner segments, as well as on Golf Talk Live. And also look forward to having you on the Women of Golf program, which is going to be coming up April 8th, which is Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Women of Golf, part of the Golf Talk Live network. Thank you, Michele, for coming on the program as well. And, of course, my final guest this evening, Zeb Welborn, who is one of the authors of The Social Golf Course. Thanks, Zeb, for giving some great insight on social media. I know it's a big topic and a lot to cover in such a short time, but if you want to get a copy of the book for either Kindle or through Amazon.com, and just type in The Social Golf Course, and as he said, it'll come right up. Thank you, Zeb, for joining here on Golf Talk Live this evening. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. And I will see you next week here on Golf Talk Live on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great weekend, everybody. God bless.